Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair for everybody to join. This is Helping Hands, one of the podcasts we started, or webinar or Zoom meeting. We'll say that we'll talk about wills today. And in another month, on August 22, we are going to talk about Sharia investment based on plan giving. And with that, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Brother Hafiz Arbaz Hannan. He's based in Franklin, Massachusetts, is a dedicated Imam, Quran teacher, and a loyal HHRD ambassador in New England region. Always ready to serve, he is a trusted and valuable member of our Massachusetts or New England community, I would say. Professionally, he excels as an accountant, balancing his role with remarkable dedication. Alhamdulillah. Without further ado, Hafiz Arbaz, please.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا وآتوا اليتامى أموالهم ولا تتبدلوا الخبيث بالطيب ولا تأكلوا أموالهم إلى أموالكم إنه كان حوبا كبيرا وإن خفتم ألا تقسطوا في اليتامى فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء مثنى وثلاث ورباع فإن خفتم ألا تعدلوا فواحدة أو ما ملكت أيمانكم ذلك أدنى ألا تعولوا وآتوا النساء صدقاتهن نحلة فإن طبن لكم عن شيء منه نفسا فكلوه هنيئا مريئا ولا تؤتوا السفهاء أموالكم التي جعل الله لكم قياما وارزقوهم فيها واكسوهم وقولوا لهم قولا معروفا وابتلوا اليتامى حتى إذا بلغوا النكاح فإن آنستم منهم رشدا فادفعوا إليهم أموالهم ولا تأكلوها إسرافا وبدارا أن يكبروا ومن كان غنيا فليستعفف ومن كان فقيرا فليأكل بالمعروف فإذا دفعتم إليهم أموالهم فأشهدوا عليهم وكفى بالله حسيبا للرجال نصيب مما ترك الوالدان والأقربون وللنساء نصيب مما ترك الوالدان والأقربون مما قل منه أو كثر نصيبا مفروضا وإذا حضر القسمة أولو القربى واليتامى والمساكين فارزقوهم منه وقولوا لهم قولا معروفا وليخشى الذين لو تركوا من خلفهم ذرية ضعافا خافوا عليهم فليتقوا الله وليقولوا قولا سديدا إن الذين يأكلون أموال اليتامى ظلما إنما يأكلون في بطونهم نارا وسيصلون سعيرا صدق الله العظيم.
Assalamu alaikum. Creating an Islamic will and legacy plan is vital to every individual's financial planning. Our mission is to enlighten you about the significance of wills in Islam and how you can ensure your family's secure future aligning with Allah's guidance. A last will is more than a legal document. It is a religious duty in Islam. As the testator, you express your wishes for asset distribution after one's passing. The Holy Quran emphasizes this obligation. It is prescribed when death approaches any of you, if he leaves wealth, that he makes a bequest to parents and next of kin according to reasonable means. Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, ayah 180. Preparing a will is considered sadaqah jariyah, a continuous charity benefiting you beyond this life. Why a will? Dying without one leaves your asset distribution to state laws, often ignoring your wishes and your heirs' needs. To avoid this, having a state-specified Sharia-compliant and legally sound estate plan is crucial. At Helping Hand, we are wholeheartedly committed to assisting you on this sacred journey. Our wills and legacy planning programs are designed to protect your family's future and support charitable causes aligning with your values, such as the Helping Hand Endowment Fund. Embrace this chance for compassionate giving. Planning today ensures your legacy reflects your values and Islamic teachings. You provide for your loved ones and continue your generosity towards those in need even after your lifetime. For detailed guidance in creating your Islamic will, please visit our website. Call or email us. We encourage you to learn how to secure your family's future and create a lasting impact in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullah khair.
Assalamu alaikum again. Now I'm going to hand over to our moderator for today, Sister Ramika. Sister Ramika is a dedicated, charismatic humanitarian who has been with Helping Hand for the last 10 years. She is an experienced program manager with a successful background in the nonprofit sector. Her skills include nonprofit organization management, leadership, community outreach, and program management. A graduate of Oakland University, Sister Ramika currently oversees our main program, Orphan Support Program, and Children's for Disability Program at HHRD. Welcome, Sister Ramika, and Jazakallah khair.
Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. That was very generous, Brother Humayun. I don't think I deserve all of those adjectives that you took, but I appreciate that so much. And I feel you and I are very privileged to be in the nonprofit sector and able to, serve the mankind, inshallah. May Allah accept all of our efforts and everyone involved in this, humanitarian efforts, inshallah. So, inshallah, let's begin. So I wanted to start with my first ever experience with wills and estate planning was, so today is July 28th. Exactly 15 years ago, me and my husband, we were planning for Hajj, and we realized that, before we head out for this, the pilgrimage of a lifetime, the once in a lifetime thing, we need to figure out what to do with our assets, our liabilities. We had two little ones, 5 and 3 years old at that time. And my biggest worry at that time was, what do I do if, God forbid, we're not able to return? Who takes care of them? Who takes care of our finances? As you know, in the country that we live in, if there's nothing specified, the court makes those decisions for you, unfortunately, with your bank accounts. And so alhamdulillah, we came back, alhamdulillah, with fulfilling our duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I feel the importance of it has become even more so now, because now I think, with years we've matured and we understand that, life is very trivial. You have it, and then the next minute, we have seen so many who have just passed away. So we need to be prepared. We need to take care of our loved ones. We need to take care of ourselves, create that sadaqah jariyah aspect of, so that, our charity can continue to live beyond our lives, inshallah. So, and then as mandated and narrated in Sahih Muslim, we saw in the video as well, that it is a duty for all Muslims who have been given anything, something that they can bequest to not let even 2 nights pass without having their will written regarding it. So inshallah, without further ado, I would like to introduce our expert, our scholar today. Brother Abed Awaz is an international expert in Islamic law, and he's an attorney in New York and New Jersey. With 25 years of legal practice, he is rated by Martindale and is a fellow of the International Academy of Family Lawyers. Mr. Awad was an adjunct professor at Rutgers University Law School from 2003 to 2020. Mr. Awad is the founder and CEO of Sharia, an award-winning online Islamic state planning portal of Muslim Americans. So welcome, Brother Abed. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you very much for that very kind introduction. And thank you for Brother Humayun for the hard work of putting this thing together and being the visionary at HHRD. Me and him have been talking about legacy planning and legacy giving for the past 2-3 years. So it's really, I'm so happy to see things moving forward, and we're raising awareness for our community. I'm going to try to give you a framework of what the Islamic law of inheritance stands for from a Sharia perspective, provide you with that brief intro, and then discuss estate planning, Islamic wills, Islamic trusts, powers of attorney, and healthcare directives, and try to open this up for questions. I've done 100 of these webinars over the years, and most of the time, the questions are much more important than me lecturing. I'm open to answer any questions from the audience. Thank you all for taking time off on your Sunday and being here with us tonight. The Islamic law of inheritance is a mandatory intestacy inheritance system, meaning that with the exception of the 1/3 that you have of your estate to leave to a sadaqah jariyah or to a family member that is not an Islamic heir, you don't have a flexibility in your distribution. Like the Quran says, this is an apportionment from God. So this means that the estate of a decedent has to be distributed according to the Quran. The Sharia divides the Islamic heirs or Islamic beneficiaries of an estate into 3 categories. Ahl al-Fara'id, the Quranic heirs. The Quran in Surah An-Nisa is pretty clear. It details all of the folks of the family that are entitled to a specific share. That's why it's called Ahl al-Fara'id, the obligatory, the Quranic heirs. So that's the first category. And in this category, there are 9 females and 4 males. Keep in mind that there are 9 females with a restriction of really a prescribed number that women have to inherit. And this gives you the overarching moral framework of the Quran focused on protecting the Muslim women in our families and in our society. And these predetermined shares, they come in certain fractions: 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, 2/3, 1/3, or 1/6. So as you can see from the screen, 9 of them are females, 4 are males, and it's self-explanatory with the list in front of you. The second category is residuary heirs. These are folks, these are Islamic heirs or family members that are taken by ta'asib. Ta'asib means that after you have finished the fractions that are the Quranic heirs, if there's anything left, it has to pass down to a list of family members according to hierarchy. So if there's anything left, as I just explained, this would be the balance that will be distributed, and they don't have a fixed share. So the folks that are going to take from the residuary heir will be based on a few examples that I'm going to explain to you to make it easier. So for example, if you have a son and a daughter, in this case, let's say you had a mother and a father. So a mother and a father will take 1/6 each, and then you're left with a son and a daughter who will take the balance. So this is how a son and a daughter are taking by ta'sib. They're not taking by a fixed share. If there was no son, the daughter will be converted from a residuary heir to a prescribed share. So the daughter would take 1/2, or if there's more than one daughter, 2/3. So as you can see how the Quran works with the protection of the daughters and females in our society. If there are no children, then the balance that remains, so like the same example, there's mother and father, maybe there is only a grandfather and only a grandmother. So they will take their prescribed shares, and whatever's left, if there are no children, if there's no parents, it will go to the siblings. If there are no siblings, to the nephews, and so forth, to the male paternal line. In the very unlikely scenario where you pass away and have no Quranic heirs, meaning have no parents, no children, no nephews, no uncles, no one in the paternal line, which is quite rare in Muslim families. We're pretty much an extended family. Each one of us has like hundreds of cousins. So that's very rare to happen. But if it does, the third category is the wil arham, and this is where there's going to be a distribution through the distant kindred, uterine heirs or outer family, which is more on the maternal line. Now, after looking at those three categories, there's a couple of legal doctrines that are used in the Islamic inheritance distribution. When the total of the prescribed shares does not exhaust the entire estate, as I've described earlier, the balance is going to be left in the estate, and it has to go by either the Islamic doctrine of Rad, increasing the shares proportionately, or by ta'sib. So that will be like in the case that, there's a father and a mother, but there are no children. Even though mom and father will get 1/3 and 1/6, the balance will be returned to them proportionate to their shares. It would be by Rad as opposed to being by ta'sib. So Rad literally means return to. If there are no residuary heirs, the Islamic doctrine of Rad is used, which I just explained and gave you an example. And I've explained to you what ta'sib is, that if there's anything left in the estate, it would go to the male paternal line, the paternal line. I already gave you an example of ta'sib. So that's the basic framework of the Islamic law of inheritance. As you can see, it is pretty much Quranic based. It's anchored in the Quran. It's anchored in the divine revelation. So the Islamic law of inheritance is complicated. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said that half of knowledge, that the Islamic law of inheritance is half of knowledge. So it is pretty complex, especially when the families are more complex, with no children, maybe uncles or only daughters, and so forth. So we created, I'm the CEO and founder of ShariaWiz.com, and we created a free online Islamic inheritance calculator that can provide you with answers to any Islamic heir scenario. You simply answer a few questions, and it will provide you distribution of your estate, and will include also the Quranic authority for it and the Sharia authority for it as well. Now we're going to come into estate planning in the US, and we're going to look at this interplay between the Sharia and Islamic inheritance with secular Western-based estate planning, which is wills and trusts. So what are the differences between wills and trusts? A will, it is a document that you prepare, that it contains all of your wishes of what would happen in the event of your death. Who will be your executor? Who will be the guardians for your children? What happens in the event that you have minors? Who would be managing their money? Who receives all of your assets, and so forth. So this will becomes effective when you pass away, because you can cancel it, modify it, change it at any time prior to you passing away. So what happens? You have to take that will when a family member passes away. It becomes part of the public record, and you have to probate it in court. So you register it, file it with the court. The court then will issue letters of administration, appointing the executor, sorting everything out for you under the supervision of the court. This can, depending on what state you live in, if you live in California, it's a nightmare, and they charge you a percentage of the estate. Many other states also vary. It could be, if it's a very simple estate, it could be 3-4 months, or it could be a year, or it could be 2 years. And it opens up also for disputes and so forth within the family. So even though a will may be sufficient for most of us, a lot of the times it's better that we would have a trust, because in the trust you avoid probate. So in the trust you create a trust, basically is a waqf. Believe it or not, there's the lineage of the Western-based trust, the American trust, the common law trust. Its lineage is Islamic law. In fact, in the civil, there are two major worldwide legal systems. There's what's called the common law system, which is the Anglo-Saxon legal system that applies here, which in fact is also the law in Pakistan, is a common law system. Or you have the civil law system, which is the French-based, statutory-based system. The only legal system that has a trust other than Islamic law is the common law, the British. The French don't have it. And there's a really talented scholar, his name is John Maqdisi. He wrote this seminal work called The Islamic Origins of the Common Law. And when he went through the historical lineage, he discovered that the trust, the waqf, had seeped into the common law when the Normandies occupied Sicily that was under the Muslim rule. And they learned about the waqf from Sicily and brought it back to England. So with the trust as a waqf, you are creating it in your lifetime. You are funding it in your lifetime, because you create the trust. And after you create the trust, the second step is for you to transfer assets into the trust. We do primarily living revocable trusts, and there are also irrevocable trusts. And I'll answer those questions during the Q&A. But the trust agreement, it sets forth everything that would happen in the event of incapacity and in the event of death. And there is no court. Everything's private. And if once there is a passing, everything transfers to the beneficiaries, smooth distribution with no issues. So I've explained all of these points. Is it obligatory to have an Islamic will? The reason for this, clearly, if you live in the United States, it's not a Muslim country. And if you pass away without a will, it will be distributed according to the secular inheritance laws of each state, wherever your state of residence. In my state, for example, like in New Jersey, if you're married and you have children, your wife will get 100% of the estate. Your parents are not included. Even your kids may not be included unless you have kids from another mother. So Muslim scholars all over have concluded that it is obligatory to have an Islamic will if you reside in the United States, because otherwise you will not be complying with the Quranic directive and distributing your estate accordingly. More importantly, without an Islamic will, you're unable to secure your legacy, you're unable to dedicate a sadaqah jariyah that will continue to give you good deeds and ajr after you pass away. Also, if you don't have a will, if you owe somebody money and the family doesn't know, now you pass away and your debts are not paid. So there's like so many reasons to have a will other than just simply to distribute property. It's to distribute property to be consistent with the Quran. It's also to protect if you have any zakat that's outstanding, to do any of huquq Allah, any nizrs, any hajj badal, protecting your minor children and picking who would be their guardian, having your sadaqah jariyah, protecting your parents, protecting your siblings. I mean, I can continue indefinitely how much an Islamic will or an Islamic trust protects your family. The objective in my practice and the objective of my company, Sharia Wiz, our mission is to say, protect your family, preserve your wealth, fulfill your faith. So these are part and parcel of what you're doing and what you're going to be learning today. Now, there are some controversial or conflicting issues relating to distribution, relating to, say, your spouse. So there are some Sharia compliant solutions for spouses. And again, these are options. These are not required. There are some scholars that may agree with them, some scholars that may not agree. My presentation here is just to lay out what is the options out there. You have to consult with your scholar, with your religious imam, and decide if these kind of solutions apply to your particular case, because every case is different. As you know, under Islamic law, if you pass away and you're the husband and you have children, your wife receives 1/8 of the estate. So there are questions about financial security for the surviving spouse. And many Muslim scholars would say you can gift things to your wife in her lifetime. You can jointly title the marital residence with your wife. You can leave, write a bank account and put it in her name. In your lifetime, there are really no restrictions. Another option is a life estate. In the Islamic Sharia system, it does allow you to bequeath a life estate, meaning in Arabic, in the Sharia, it says haqq al-manfa'a. So haqq al-manfa'a means the use of an enjoyment of the property. So you're living together in a marital residence. You can say, when I pass away, I had already granted my wife during my lifetime that she will have a life estate in the residence, meaning that you can't sell the house until she passes away. And after she passes away, then it's distributed to the Islamic heirs. That is an option. Third option is increasing mahar. The mahar is considered a preferential debt against your estate. So when you pass away, the first thing the Sharia court will do is, okay, let's identify all of the debts of the decedent. Does he owe any mu'akhar? Does he owe any deferred mahar? That deferred mahar gets paid first, and the wife receives her 1/8. So you can, in your lifetime, in your trust or in your will, modify your mahar voluntarily, without coercion, and say, I'm leaving the house as my deferred mahar to my wife. I want to amend, instead of it being $5,000 that I agreed to 50 years ago, now I'm going to say it's the house, or I'm going to say it's $100,000 more, or it's going to be a bank account. So when you pass away, your wife will receive the postponed dower, plus you will receive the 1/8. The fourth option is compensate your wife for the financial and non-financial contributions. There are two legal theories that support this position. There's a concept in the Maliki school that's called al-kad wa si'aya, meaning when a wife utilizes her efforts and works with you, whether she manages your finances, whether she works at the store, whether she works at the field, whether she is working in a business with you, family business, or she has a job and she's pooling her money with you. When you do things like that as husband and wife, you are now commingling your finances and creating a legal and equitable claim for your wife to those assets. And this was based on a story of Umar ibn al-Khattab, the Faruq, the Just, where he had to resolve a particular inheritance dispute. In that particular dispute, what happened was a woman from Mecca, my recollection, was a very famous dressmaker. So she would make these dresses, and her husband would take them to the souk and sell them. They accumulated a good amount of wealth from their business and from their trade. He passed away. They had no children. So strictly speaking, she would get a quarter of the estate, and 3/4 will go to the paternal line of the husband. So she went to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu and said, you know who I am. I'm the one who's doing all these dresses. And I think that there's something not fair in this distribution, in a sense that it's not taken into account my contributions to the acquisition of the marital estate. And Umar al-Khattab said, absolutely, I know who you are, and half of this wealth is yours because you participated in acquiring it, plus you'll get your quarter of the inheritance. So he kind of like flipped the formula around. And believe it or not, this is the law of the United States. And the law of the United States, this was not the law here until the 1970s. The Sharia and Muslims from the 7th century had identified, recognized that when a spouse, when a wife contributes to the acquisition, she creates a legal and equitable claim to that. So that's one legal theory that you could include in your trust and your will to compensate your wife. Another one is the marriage contract. There's 2 schools. One school says that you as the husband are required to provide food, shelter, and clothing, and medical care, plus a domestic servant, somebody to help around to do the services and chores around the house, from cooking to cleaning to so forth. Some scholars say it is required all the time. Some say it's only required if the wife that you married comes from a socioeconomic class that she had enjoyed this type of service. So in this particular legal theory, if your wife has provided all of these non-financial support, from cooking, cleaning, stopping her career, leaving her job, everything to build the family and care for the kids and care for her husband, she should be compensated for those services. Even though she voluntarily gifted them to you, you could say, I owe her a debt for all of these services, such as a nafaqah during the marriage that I should have covered. So I'm going to acknowledge that I owe my wife $100,000 for these services, and she will receive that from the estate plus her 1/8 from inheritance. So like I said, these are just basic options. Debts and bequests. These are major areas that you have to take into account. Huquq Allah, from Hajj to Zakat to Kafarat to vows. These are things that you will recognize and memorialize in your estate plan, whether it's a will-based estate plan or a trust-based estate plan. You know, many of us, and I wouldn't be surprised, most of us, when we bought our home, we took a loan from our parents, we took a loan from our brother, we took a loan from our cousin. They give us money to help us. That's the beauty and the power of the Muslim community, is we're extended family. We're the social security and safety net for each other. That's why we do so much better than most Americans. So you want to identify that. They probably gave you $50,000 in cash, or, gave you a check and, and you deposit in your personal account. Your wife doesn't know, your kids don't know. Something may happen, you pass away. Who's going to pay that debt? How are we going to make sure that your debts are going to be paid when you pass away? you're going to put it in your will. You're going to put it in your trust. The 1/3 bequest tradition in the Sharia is one of the most important aspects for our community. Like, you have to understand the power of the Muslim Ummah was its investment in building institutions. These institutions were not related to the political, it was not related to the Khalifa, it was not related to the emirs. This was the Muslim civil society. The Muslim civil society in pre-modern times had a very sophisticated, multi-layered institution infrastructure. So how did that happen? It happened because of the concept of the waqf and building waqfs, whether there are what we call waqf ahli, which is a small waqf that benefits your family and part of it can go to charity, or the public waqf al-khayri. Like, think about the Ottoman Empire in Turkey. Almost 60 to 70% of the land in around Turkey during the Muslim era was owned in a waqf. Almost 75 to 80% of the land in Algeria was owned by waqfs. The same applied in most South Asian, in Egypt, in Syria, in Palestine. The waqf owned a large part of most of our businesses and our buildings and our land. And that was the way to stay away from the state intervention in your wealth, state intervention in how you're going to support and take care of your family and your community. So that's why the work that we're doing right now with Helping Hands is one of those institutions. It's one of these Muslim institutions that is making a difference in the lives of Muslims globally. Well, how are we going to ensure that Helping Hands is going to survive and grow and be sustained? We have to invest in our Muslim institutions. And the Sharia is encouraging you and providing you with the famous hadith about that when a person passes away, only 3 things remain. If he has a good child that prays for him, or he has ilm that people will benefit, or he has a sadaqah jariyah. And the stuff that we do for Helping Hands, it's our sadaqah jariyah that will continue helping people. And this 1/3 bequest tradition allows us to dedicate up to 1/3 of our estate to support these charitable types of institutions so that our sadaqahs can continue to give indefinitely. So this is very important to keep in mind, that you, in creating your estate plan, whether it's a will or a trust, you're leaving a legacy. And this is the legacy that's going to continue after your passing. So the elements of the foundation of an estate plan. So we call this an estate plan. Why do we call it an estate plan? Because it's not just one document, it's a plan. We have will-based estate plan, or we have trust-based estate plan. A will-based estate plan includes a will. It includes a healthcare directive living will on what would happen if you're incapacitated, what will happen, who's going to make the medical decisions for you about resuscitating if you are in a hospital. All of that is going to be addressed in your healthcare directive living will. And a general power of attorney to allow your family to handle your financial affairs in the event that you're not able to. So it's 3 documents that create this estate plan. And all of these, you can hire an attorney to do it for you, or you can go to shariawiz.com and you can create your will-based estate plan. All these documents are included in the plan. Or a trust-based estate plan, which includes a trust. It includes a healthcare directive, a living will. It also includes an Islamic will, and it also includes a power of attorney. So this is what we call an estate plan. That's why it's an interesting process that we have to understand. So I just answered this particular slide, so you can take a minute to, screen through it really fast so that you can see what we have. Overview of powers of attorney. There's an agent, there's a principal, and the person with that authority. Usually, in my practice, it's the spouses usually are each other's agent. Sometimes the older son or older daughter is the agent. And these are all documents that are valid when you sign them, but you can change them, revoke them anytime before you pass or before you become incapacitated. We just discussed about the medical durable power of attorney, which is what we call a living will or healthcare directive, depending on the state that you live in. Right, so that covers the basics of Islamic law of inheritance and also the basics of estate planning. What are the documents and tools that you need? So I want to open this up now for questions so that I can answer any question that you have.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Abed. I appreciate your such an informative session. We do have questions coming in. Let me take a look here. So let me just begin with, let's say for a layman like me, there are a lot of technical terms used today. And for somebody who's just been introduced to the idea, if they go to shariawiz.com and they're able to connect with you, you could essentially take them through everything that we discussed and give them more information, correct?
The first thing that you do is you go to Helping Hands for Relief and Development website.
Okay.
There's a wealth of information about wills, trusts, estate planning on the website. And Sharia Wiz is in a partnership with Helping Hands to support each other and to make things easier for our supporters and our donors to make their estate plan. So from there, they will be able to click on the button. It will take them to Sharia Wiz, and it is so simple. Majority of people who complete their wills in under 15 minutes, 15 to 20. It's really easy. There's explanations on every question. Every term is defined. There is an icon, a eye that you click, understand. We have also customer service representatives available from 9 to 5, whether by call, by chatting, by email. So we make it very easy. And even a trust, most people who do an individual trust finish it under 30 minutes. And the price point is also what's important. It's that for an Islamic will, you receive the will, the healthcare directive, the power of attorney for $199. The same for the trust, it's $499. And for the family waqf, which is a really cutting edge, we're bringing back a waqf al-ahli to operate in the United States. The Waqf al-Ahli was a collaboration between Sharia Wiz and Awad Asset Management. Awad Asset Management is one of the largest Sharia compliant asset management companies in the country. They have close to 1.4 billion under management. We work together to create this Waqf Ahli to protect the family. So in this, it was approved by their Sharia board. A husband and a wife can create a joint trust, and there's no distribution until the death of the surviving spouse. And it preserves the family estate until both pass away. And that's also a product that's available on Sharia Wiz as well.
Perfect. And we have posted the link in the chat. So that's the way to go. hhrd.org/planned giving, inshallah, for everyone. Now, we have a series of very specific questions, Brother Awad, for you. Karen Hadley asks, if you live in a community property state, your house will automatically go to the surviving spouse. Is that correct?
Not only if you're living in a community property state. So for everybody who's listening, there are two types of marital states. There's what's called the equitable distribution jurisdictions, and then the community property jurisdictions. The vast majority of United States are equitable distribution. California, Texas are community property jurisdictions. In a community property jurisdiction, what it means is everything acquired while you're married is automatically 50-50. In an equitable distribution state, it means that all assets acquired are marital assets, subject to equitable distribution, not equal, equitable. But when you come to marital residence, a marital residence in almost all jurisdictions, if your spouse, both spouse names are on it, that means it probably includes a right of survivorship. A right of survivorship under US law means that if I pass away, my interest automatically goes to the surviving spouse. And if she passes away, it comes automatically to me. So from a Sharia law perspective, may not be Sharia compliant. It's actually, I don't want to say may not. It's generally not Sharia compliant because it will be considered a inheritance that you're giving extra to your wife. So now if you make the house mu'akhar sadaq, then it's Sharia compliant. Or in our case, if you use Sharia Wiz and you create a Sharia compliant trust or Sharia compliant will, it also includes a community property agreement or an elective share agreement where it removes the right of survivorship and says that when I pass away, my 50% goes to my Islamic heirs. It doesn't automatically go to the surviving spouse.
Okay, so I guess I'm continuing on with the same question. When the spouses own everything jointly, except for retirement accounts. So the question is, so can the spouses use one of the 4 solutions? I'm not sure what the context is, but
well, yes, of course. I mean, the thing is that when you say you own everything jointly, if you own something jointly without the right of survivorship or like a death benefit, you know, careful, because if you both own, that means everything is going to the other spouse. So you are opting out from the Islamic inheritance rules. In the case like this, because Sharia Wiz is really geared for people with assets under 5 million, let's say. You know, people with assets under 5 million, it's really workable. If you have assets that are a little bit more, it's better that you contact us. We'll pair you with an attorney in your jurisdiction because you're probably going to need something more customized. There may be some tax implications, specifically like in New York. Anybody who's listening here or attending who's from New York has an estate tax. So here's the simple summary of estate tax. There's a federal estate tax for every individual has a deduction of 13 million approximately. So if you're married, you have $26 million that will not be subject to federal income tax, federal estate tax. But if anything above that, you're going to be paying like 40%. New York has also a state estate tax, anything in excess of 6 million. But they don't allow spouses. So it's 13 million per spouse in the federal. And you can join them together. You can give each other the 13. But in the New York, it says, no, it's 6 million each. And you can't use each other. So let's say we had $6 million. I pass away, you're paying inheritance. You're going to pay an estate tax in New York. We have solutions to avoid that as lawyers. So when you're in New York, this is a very important thing that we have to take into account. In this particular case, if the family is really a joint family working together, pooling everything together, and everything is joint, your best bet is to do the family waqf. Why? Because it's a joint trust, and you're putting everything in the joint trust. And you're saying half of it is for me, half of it is for him. So when you pass away first, your half remains in the trust under the management and control of the surviving spouse for him to take care of the kids or her to take care of and take care of herself. And then when the surviving spouse passes away, everything is distributed. So for folks that are in that kind of factual scenario, a joint trust is the best option for them.
Perfect. And then I guess that answer actually answers Brother Ejaz Yusuf's questions on where he said, if the spouses have everything joint, who will be the inheriting person after death of one of the spouses? Is it Sharia compliant? So I guess
yes, it's Sharia compliant, of course.
It
will be their children. If they have no children, it would
Mhm.
go to the parents. If no parents, it'll go to their siblings. No siblings, they will pick. I have somebody that I'm doing a trust for now. They have no kids, so they're giving it to charity.
Of course. So another very specific question is, can you please explain why putting your money in a CD at a bank is not halal?
Well, again, the issue on that's a riba question. The vast majority and interest on money in a CD is considered riba and it's haram. Now, there are some scholars that have taken the position, because interest is being regulated by the state and that you live in a country that only charges interest and the interest is not excessive, that it's not haram. But that's not the mainstream position. And frankly, if you think there's this very famous author, and his name is Piketty, P-I-C-K-T-E-Y. He supposedly, number one, he's a New York Times bestseller guy, wrote the seminal book on capital, on money. And the book is called The History of Capital. And in the History of Capital, which is 1,000 pages, he's looking at the history of money and what happened that creates like economic inequities in societies over the past 2,000 years. So this so-called genius, after 1,000 pages, comes up and says, when people's wealth is primarily, when you make wealth, you do it two ways. Your labor, you work, and you make money. And number two is investment and return on your money and inheritance, money you get in inheritance. So what he said is that in society, over time, people, their money is more coming from inheritance, not from labor, inheritance and investment. Over time, money circulates in a smaller group and there's economic inequity. And our scholars and our Quran and Rabb al-Alameen said riba is worse than drinking alcohol, it's worse than zina, it's worse than all of this, because the Quran basically says who takes riba is like a fire is going to explode in his hereafter. So our scholars saw that, and we're living it today in the United States, how riba has devastated the economic inequities in our country. We have about 1.7 trillion in student loan debt. We have close to 2 trillion in mortgage loan debt. We have over 2 trillion in credit card debt. The amount of trillions of debt that has burdening our fellow Americans boils down to interest. And that's why we have billionaires like Elon Musk and billionaires, and the rest of Americans are poor and hardly making. Interest is evil and should be avoided at all costs.
100%. Jazakallah khair for that. One question that we got was, what if your family members are non-Muslim? So I guess
yeah, that's no issue at all. The Sharia is a moral legal system.
Right.
People have to understand, we at Sharia Wiz, and me as Abed Awaz, who taught Islamic law for 17 years and been studying it for the past 25 years. I'm not a traditional scholar. I'm not an imam. I'm not a religious scholar. But from my 30 years of studying the Sharia to me is an epistemology, a moral epistemology, a moral methodology that produces knowledge. It's not black and white. You got to engage the foundational text and look at the factual scenarios of a case to determine what the proper fatwa or legal outcome should be. That's why our scholars, when they define fiqh, they call it ilm al-ikhtilaf, the science of difference. That's why they say Allahu A'lam after every fatwa. That's why we can have multiple fatwas that are different on the same factual circumstance. This is the mercy of our tradition. So this is why people have to take these types of understanding of our specifics before coming up with conclusions. So back to what you're saying is that ultimately we live in this country. We need to look at our circumstances and build a method, a fiqh that protects our families, preserves their wealth, and fulfills their faith. We're at the juncture of an $80 trillion transfer of wealth in the next 40 years. This is the largest wealth transfer in the history of the United States. Muslims are part of the largest wealth transfer that's going to happen. These wills, these trust is planning to protect our next generations, giving them the power of finance and a moral guidance so that we can be more powerful economically, politically in the United States. And now we go back to I'm sorry, I forgot the question because it's about non-Muslims. So for that reason, there are two types of people who receive inheritance in Islamic law. The automatic heirs, the Islamic heirs. The Quran says, when I pass away, my wife is getting her 1/8. My daughter is getting her money. This is an automatic. The other way is by bequest. So there is by operation of Islamic law, and there is by bequest. A non-Muslim, if I have a son who's non-Muslim, or my wife is non-Muslim, she doesn't get her 1/8 because she's non-Muslim. But I could leave a bequest to my non-Muslim wife. I can give her 1/3. I can give her 1/8. I can give my son who's non-Muslim, I can give him up to 1/3. So non-Muslims do inherit if you want them to, but you have a cap of 1/3 in aggregate that you can give away to non-Islamic heirs.
Perfect. That's very clear. Thank you so much for that. And what about financial debt, like car loan or student loan? How does that, are we able to specify in a will on how those will be taken care of after we pass?
Of course. I mean, number one, all of your debts are going to be paid. Now, when I say identify your debts, don't put in your debts your student loans or your credit cards or your mortgage. Those are well-known debts. You're already burned in, brother. They're registered in the registry. The credit card companies have your info. You don't need to acknowledge those. Those have to be paid. Your executor has an obligation to pay all those debts, and you have to take out ads in newspapers and notices to let everybody know if there is debt, you got 6 months to come and file and tell us what's going on. The debts that you got to be worried about is debts like you took money from your son. Or, like I have so many clients, they say, oh, this bank account has $100,000. It's not my money, it's my son, but I'm holding his money. Okay, so I want to put in the trust or in the will, that bank account that has 100 grand in my name, that's not my money, it's for my son. So make sure that my son gets that money. So these are the types of debts that we want to acknowledge and memorialize in our estate planning documents to protect. I don't want to die and my debts don't get paid. And we have too many traditions saying that your soul is suspended if you don't pay off your debt.
Great, thank you for that. Okay, so moving on, I have one question here that says, what are your thoughts related to putting 403B IRA accounts in a trust, as this would be a taxable event?
We advise all our clients not to retitle their retirement accounts into their trusts for the same reason that the guest explained. That would create a taxable event. What we advise our clients when it comes to retirement is to update their designated beneficiary to reflect the Islamic inheritance fractions. That's one option. Option two, there's also another story, another school. Taqa'ud, meaning retirement, in countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, most of the Arab countries, I'm not sure about Pakistan, do not consider retirement inheritance. They consider retirement investment that is made for the benefit of the immediate mom and kids. Therefore, that is the person who's the beneficiary. You can subscribe to that school and just leave the beneficiaries as you wish without the Islamic inheritance fractions, or if you believe that it should be considered like inheritance, just update your designated beneficiary to your Islamic heirs, but do not transfer it to your trust.
Perfect. This is a question I guess we've already covered so many times because Sharia, like you said, clearly outlines the rules for request, whether it's for, a husband passing away for, a woman or a wife passing away first. So, but the question is, according to Sharia, are the rules for bequeathing money assets different for women than men?
Of course not. It's the Sharia is gender equal. As the Quranic verse that we listened to, which was really fascinating, made me very happy, was the verse that's saying that Allah created us from one soul, male and female. So the Quran is the only religious text that actually either directs to general Muslims or general humanity, or specifically actually mentions male Muslimin wa Muslimat. So there is no difference. It's the same rules. It's just that what happens is that when a wife passes away, the inheritance is different just between spouses. So it would be if a husband passes away, she receives 1/8 if they're children, or a quarter if there are no children. But if the surviving person is the husband, he will receive 1/4 if they're children, or 1/2 if there are no children. That is really the difference.
And I guess I was reading the other day, because the men are supposed to take care of the families, so they have that higher, the liability that, they're responsible for more people than women are deemed in Islam. I guess that's what
the Sharia is a cohesive, comprehensive system. The problem with modern Muslims and what's happening today is we are picking and choosing. So we're not working within the coherence. For example, in every fiqh book, there is a chapter called nafaqa, nafaqat al-aqarib, not nafaqat al-zawja wa nafaqat al-awlad, nafaqat al-aqarib, in support for relatives. Islamic law has gender-specific financial obligations, and they are all male. All financial obligations are gender-specific to males. Muslim men are failing their obligations. They're required to provide food, shelter, clothing, and domestic. They're responsible to take care of the kids. Anything you work is your separate property. So in the Islamic paradigm, a daughter who is 50 can sue her father, can sue her brother for support. A daughter who is divorced can sue her brother for support. A mother can sue her son for support. This is where there's a cohesive system. But in the United States, a sister cannot sue her brother for support. And that's why there's these discussions of finding certain solutions in your lifetime to level the playing field. Because currently, the Muslim men have now been relieved and released of their moral financial obligation to their sisters, their aunts, and their mothers.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. All right, so moving on, one of our questions is, what happens if you have an investment account that grows at different rates? Would they have to be liquidated before distribution, or should she designate a beneficiary share according to the value today?
No, the values are going to be at the time of passing, not at the time of creating your trust or your will. And this question is not really a legal question as much as it is you're going to select. If it's a will, it's going to be an executor. If it's a trust, it's going to be the trustee. That trustee has wide authority to say, is it a good idea to liquidate? Is it not a good idea to liquidate? Because keep in mind, the benefit is you get a step-up basis. So when your family, when you pass away, it'll be that fair market value. They generally will not be paying capital gains.
Got it. Okay. And then we just had one word here and a question mark. It says life insurance. So
That's a situation where I was not conflicted on this one.
Okay.
The mainstream position on life insurance, it's haram and it's not acceptable. Now, my position and the way I broke it down is that there is life insurance in Islamic law. It's called takaful. And takaful was the beginning of all insurance and influenced the development of commercial insurance in Europe. So takaful basically meant that we are going to be supporting each other. We're going to make a donation. Each of us are going to put 1,000 dinars a month into this pot, and we're all responsible. And when somebody passes, somebody has a loss, somebody, their ship sinks, we're going to take the money that's in that fund and we're going to give it to them. And we're going to continue to build that particular nest egg to support members in this takaful. So in the takaful, the premium is paid for your benefit because you also have an ownership interest, a beneficial interest in the mutual agreement in this takaful. So the Quran also says that necessity and need also can be a source of law. If I do not have a Sharia compliant option in the United States, I believe that term life insurance is permitted because there is no other alternative based on need and necessity. And you got to think, I'm just getting married. I'm 29 and we just had our first son and I'm driving to work. If I drop dead, I don't have any money. I got nothing. Who's going to take care of my 1-year-old son? Who's going to take care of the wife that now has to stay and raise this kid? So that term insurance is a security. And one of the main obligations of what we call the principal foundations of the Sharia is to protect your family. So me getting that term insurance is protecting the family. And if there was a Sharia compliant option, I would say it would be haram to buy conventional insurance because you have to go the Sharia route. So that's what I can explain about life insurance.
Perfect. And what about annuity?
It depends. With annuities, if these annuities are invested in Sharia compliant, because the way these annuities work is that you give a certain amount of money, and that money is invested, and you're just going to be able to draw certain money until a certain age or until you pass away. I think I haven't really studied annuities clearly because there may be a death benefit to annuities, but thinking that if it's invested in a Sharia compliant fund and you're grabbing the benefit from that, I would think it could be Sharia compliant, but I don't know the entire structure of an annuity.
Okay, so the last question for today then for us is there such thing as Islamic banking? I don't want my money in Chase Bank. What do you suggest?
There is. I taught Islamic finance a couple of times, and I look at the moral, the Islamic finance as the moral economy. Now, it's not perfect. Modern Islamic finance is not perfect. It has its times. My retirement is with Azad. It's a Sharia compliant fund. I get my annual, this is what your zakat is on your money. They manage it. I know they're not investing in haram things or in banks. So yes, you do have at least from an investment perspective for people to manage your retirement and stuff like Azad, like Sharia Portfolio, like other companies too. I'm deferential to Azad because I've been with them for probably over 13 years. From banking, there isn't really strictly an Islamic banking system. I think there may be a couple of, like University Bank does some of these mortgages and so forth, but at least invest your money in Sharia compliant. And if I also, this may sound controversial, but like, for example, I'm working on an investment in one of my companies, and we may be receiving a large investor in our company, and we don't need that money right away. So I'm putting it in a bank, taking interest, and that interest is distributed to Islamic charities. Because in the end, the money is going to be idle. I'm not going to touch it, but the banks are making money on it because it's with them. No, I don't want them. I'll take that money and I'm going to give it to charity. So that's also another option, is if you want to put it in a CD, at least take the entire amount and give it to charity.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate the session so much. Jazakallah khair, Brother Abed Awaz. Very informative. Indeed, Sharia is a security net for all of us. And, you know, if we just follow it, we are able to protect our loved ones, our communities, and the larger Muslim ummah, you know, with our charitable donations that could continue on after we are gone, inshallah. So appreciate your time, and Jazakallah khair for the wonderful answers. So now moving on, inshallah, I just wanted to bring back Brother Humayun Kabeer. He's my amazing co-worker. I've been privileged to serve alongside with him on so many projects. I've been here 10 years. He's been here longer. He's my senior. He's a dedicated humanitarian who's contributed to the New England community for over 2 decades. And he has been an integral part of HHRD, Helping Hand. And in his current role as a senior manager of development, he oversees planned giving endowment and capital campaigns for Helping Hand for Relief and Development. Alhamdulillah. Brother Humayun, please take it away.
Jazakallah khair. Again, I'll say the same thing. I don't deserve for all those comments you made, but I'll take it for what it is. We are all workers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, helping each other to make our lives a little bit better so we can have a better life after the life. That's what we are all working for. Alhamdulillah, 2 years ago, I had this opportunity to lead this department, and we have developed a lot. I have had numerous meetings with Brother Abed. We are still trying to figure out how and what best we can serve the community and provide as much information, as much easier do-it-yourself programs, and inshallah, more will come. As Brother Abed mentioned, Azad Asset Management. After interviewing a bunch of management companies, Helping Hand decided to work with Azad Asset Management. We have our endowment fund with them, and it's growing steadily. We chose them because, just like what Abed Bhai said, they are 100% halal, 100% Sharia based than many other organizations. There's no doubt in our minds about it. So we recommend these 2 organizations. They are listed on our websites. Please do visit hhrd.org/plangiving. We have wealth of information there, wealth of resources there. We have another partner, which is freewill.com. Again, just a disclaimer, that's not a Sharia based. So it's entirely up to you, because doing the research, we found a lot of our community members and brothers and sisters want to do this, but they don't really want to follow the Sharia based. So we provided them another option, which is non-Sharia based. But we encourage you all to reach out to Brother Abed. He has vast 20 years of experience to help us, and we'll have more coming in. We have another 15 lawyers, professionals listed on our website under the Plan Giving page as resources. Reach out to them. They are ready to help you in different states. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Brother Abed. You can reach out to Sister Fatma or anybody at our Helping Hands offices. We'll be more than happy to direct you to different resources. There's a lot of resources, but we have to be very educated to pick and choose the right resources if we want to do the right way, the right things. And I'll just thank you all. Thank you, Brother Abed, taking the time Sunday evening. We could be doing a lot of other things, but this is a blessing. This is a very vital information we need to do. I'll say that to my audience, and Helping Hand is available at all times. Whenever any one of you wants to do an in-person programs, we'll come out to your community, we'll do it. Brother Abed is with me, and we have other speakers who are going to come to your community and do a one-to-one session. Brother Abed did this 50 minutes talk. It's not doing justice to the programs or to the wills. It's such a vast field. Brother Abed said himself. It's very, very, very deep, very, very, very intricate that we need to do. We need to know what we are doing right. for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for our benefits for the world after. I'm going to end, and Jazakallah khair, Sister Ramika, for doing an amazing job, Brother Arbaz, to recite, and for all of you to thank us. We'll just show a small video, and then I'll make a dua, and then after the video, you are more than welcome to leave. We will share a video of this recording to all of you. Whoever emails we have on our on the listing, we'll share it, and then we'll have it available on the website also, inshallah.
Brother
Jazakallah khair.
Humayun,
Yes.
sorry, Assalamu
No,
alaikum.
no. Wa alaikum assalam.
Would you kindly put the link for the free calculator?
Free calculator for
Yeah, the Sharia calculator.
Brother Abed, we can't hear you if you're saying something.
For the Sharia was I'll put a link.
Okay. And we will add that to our website too. Thank you, Sister Shiri. That's a good thought.
Inshallah. Thank you.
And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us and give us the knowledge to do the right thing, to do the right with our based of Quran and Sharia and what Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us.
Assalamu alaikum. Have you ever wondered how your legacy could continue to impact the world, even after you're gone? In a world brimming with needs and opportunities, making a lasting difference can seem like a daunting task. But what if there was a way to ensure your contributions lived on, creating a ripple effect of positive change for generations to come? This is Sadaqah Jariyah. Planned giving is that bridge between the present and the future. It's a commitment made today that benefits the world of tomorrow. Whether it's a gift in your will, a trust, or an annuity, planned giving allows you to leave a legacy that speaks volumes of your values and your visions for a better world. Imagine a world where every individual in need has their basic needs fulfilled, and hunger and poverty are no longer a reality for them. You can help make this vision come true by including planned giving in your will. Your support by creating an endowment can fund a hospital in Karachi, sponsor orphans, provide clean water, food, shelter, and ensure health care for those in need. Helping Hand is more than just an organization. It's a partner in philanthropy. Our vision is to create an endowment fund that eliminates the operational costs, so 100% of the income generated can go to the ones in need in future. Our planned giving initiative provides maximum benefits to the donor and the people in need. With expertise in various giving options, we can help tailor your contribution to match your philanthropic goals and financial needs, ensuring your gift makes the maximum impact. With Helping Hand, help secure the future of your future generations. Through planned giving, you're not just donating, you're investing in the future. Your gift becomes a testament of your belief in humanity's potential for goodness and growth. With HHRD's experience and dedication, your legacy will pave the way for transformative change, touching lives and uplifting communities around the globe. Take the first step towards leaving a lasting legacy. For more information, visit our website, call us, or email. Together, we can build a future where hope and opportunity flourish for everyone. Your legacy is a beacon of hope, a promise for a better tomorrow. Let's make it shine forever. Jazakumullah khair.
Jazakallah khair for everybody once again. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us and give us the energy, give us the reasons and support to help the less fortunate around the globe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Like,